Hey everyone, it's Cory from the Bradshaw Boys, and before we get started with the episode, we wanted to tell you about a few things. We are currently rewatching Sex and the City and putting out 2 episodes every week. One is going here on our main feed, and the other episode is on our Patreon feed. We want to get a massive rewatch going with all of you to get ready for the Sex and the City reboot, and just like that. So please join us by rewatching all of Sex and the City by listening here and then catching all the episodes on our Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/Bradshaw Boys, it's just $5 a month. You get twice as many episodes as you do on the main feed, and you join us for the entire rewatch. I mean, what a crazy deal, right? It's super fun. We'll get all the episodes in before the reboot happens, and you get to catch everything and be there with us. The other thing is, if you follow us on our Instagram at the Bradshaw Boys, we just launched a face filter in stories called Who is Your Sex and the City Boyfriend? It'll tell you who your boyfriend is. You just point it at your face. It spins through a bunch of guys, and then look, your boyfriend is Steve. If you go to our Instagram, you can check it out on our profile, go to the filters, or look for it in the filter store, tag us, and then we'll repost you so the world can know who your boyfriend is. All right, enjoy the episode, everyone.
You're now listening to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where 3 relatively grown men binge the iconic HBO series Sex and the City. So dust off those DVDs and grab yourself a white wine or even a Cosmopolitan and settle in. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to the Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where 3 guys rewatch Sex and the City with you. I'm Cory Cavin.
I'm Kevin James Doyle.
My name is Jon Sieber.
And today we have a writer, a producer, and the host of Pot Psychology. Please welcome Tracie Morrissey.
Hi.
Yay.
Hey, thank you
How's
so
it
much for
going?
joining us.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Tracie.
having me. I'm very excited.
Tracie, are you located here in New York right now?
I'm in Brooklyn, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Nice.
awesome.
Nice. I could feel our 4 energies sinking because me and Cory have been traveling like for the past bit, and now we're both back in Brooklyn as of this past weekend. And I based on your Instagram, I thought you lived around here, and it feels nice. Feels nice to be in Brooklyn, but digitally all together.
Yeah. It's like the first time everyone's been in the same city in a long time.
I know,
yeah.
right?
That's great.
Yeah, totally.
Ooh,
I know.
I'm excited.
We keep talking about doing our podcast in person, but we're all doing it not in person right now. Do you do your podcast, Pot Psychology? Do you guys do that in person right now, or are you doing it remotely?
We did it remotely for the first probably 5 or 6 months of quarantine, but my co-host got COVID like right in the beginning. So then when I moved back to the city, because I had moved out of the city, when I moved back, I was like, let's just do it in person. It's fine. So we've been doing it in person now since like the end of the summer, I would say.
Okay, cool.
Do you do your podcast high? Do you smoke weed and then do your podcast?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that makes me.
Point.
I mean, I just
I wish
get
I was
nervous
high right now.
anytime I
You're
smoke
like,
pot,
this is so terrible. I wish I was high right now.
I talk a lot, and then the second I smoke weed, like 4 seconds later, people are just like, Kevin's high, because I just like don't talk. So I don't know how I would do a podcast high, and I get I just start talking in circles. I can't imagine. We'll do it. We'll do a podcast high one time, and we can see if our listeners notice.
You guys should do it. You should do it on the episode where Carrie gets high a lot.
Yes.
Where she eats the chicken with the guy, where she smokes weed and eats chicken with the guy.
The guy who lives with his mom.
Yeah. So your podcast is based off a book that you wrote also on Pot Psychology?
I actually kind of hate the name, but like we're just going with it. But it was supposed to be like pop psychology, but it was pot psychology. And we would give advice to people, but while we were stoned.
Oh my
And that was a vlog that we did on Jezebel, like way back in the day. I was one of the founding editors of Jezebel. And then we got a book deal from that. And then I got pregnant.
and then I had a baby and we kind of like stopped doing it because of that. And then like about a year ago, I was like, because my kid's like 9 now, I was like, I feel like we're leaving money on the table. Let's like do this as a podcast. So we decided to do that. And it's like, actually it was been like so great because we started doing it maybe like 2 months before COVID happened. And having that like connection with someone, like another person, like during COVID, that was like a guaranteed time where I had FaceTime with someone, felt really good. And it really like kept me sane. And that was like great. And then now, like for the past, I don't know how many months, like 8-9 months, seeing him in person, it's like the only time I see someone really like in person.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I hope that's going to change soonish, but like, we have had one day a week that we see each other in person, and that's my entire social life. So it's been great for that.
Yeah.
I think we transitioned to virtual, like, March of last year, like basically, we just like got on a Zoom and we figured it out the first week, but then I don't think I could overestimate how much it made, especially the first 4 or 5 months of COVID, doable. And it was like you're saying, it was like, okay, at least I have this. And then also with our listeners, like, I don't know, that was like a really special time that I was like, I don't think I'd ever done a Zoom meeting or something before, but having like watching this show and then getting together with 2 of my friends every week, like, was pretty incredible. I really, it was a
there's
special
some
time.
big pot news in New York. I don't keep up to date with the laws, but they're legalizing recreational marijuana, right?
Oh, it's so great. Yeah. So like you can smoke pot on the street now. Like that was immediate. You can just smoke pot on the street.
Like today you can just go smoke it today.
Yeah, as long as you're in a place where or you're at a place where you can smoke cigarettes. Okay. So that's like not in like a park, it's not in a restaurant, but it's like, on a street corner. Yeah, you can smoke. It's really exciting.
Was that a law that changed, or was that like an edict? Like how did
by the king? The king of New York he got the town crier to stand on a stump, and they yelled it out one day.
It was like a big joint that just unrolled,
and they were just playing Grateful Dead and Fish in the background. Ladies and gentlemen,
hell yeah,
that was Don Pardo from SNL announcing it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what is the actual laws though? Because has it been decriminalized for a little while, and then this was something else?
Yeah, it's been decriminalized for like at least, I would say probably 10 years now.
Okay.
So like if you probably would just get a ticket at the most.
Okay.
So that's not like so bad, but it was expensive. So now it's like you don't get a ticket, nothing happens the way that it should be. It's just normal. But now there's going to be, there are going to be spaces that are created for actual smoking. So they're going to be like consumption lounges. So it's gonna be like a bar, but it's just weed, which I'm excited about. And then part of this whole thing is that there are a set amount of licenses for dispensaries and consumption lounges that are reserved for minorities and people who've been directly affected by the war on drugs, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And then are individuals allowed to grow it also?
I don't know that. Okay. I haven't like looked into it that much. I only really like looked into it into the terms of like how it affects me. Sure. I don't grow vegetables, so I'm not going to grow weed. I just buy everything.
It's so interesting because I was watching Arrested Development. I was watching the first season of that again. And just the cultural acceptance of weed has changed so much.
It's crazy.
Just in like the 13 years I think 13 or 18 years that show has been around. Like it was like such the boogeyman in the first season of that show where they talk about it.
Pothead.
Yeah. And like now when you go, like, I don't know, whenever we were in California, it's just very common and accepted and normal. And it's just, it's so wild to see that difference happen.
My mom,
I
my
love
mom
it.
was listening. My mom was listening to Cheech and Chong with her friends in middle school, and my uncle came home after my uncle like saw Velvet Underground like live and saw Jimi Hendrix like 3 times. He was like, but he had like a big conversion, and he came home, and my mom was listening to Cheech and Chong, one of their first albums, like with some of her friends, and he just walked up to the record player and like snapped it. And he's like, "Don't listen to this trash." And
Dude.
I've heard that story in my family like 50 times. She's like when you broke the Cheech and Chong album. So imagine from Arrested Development, imagine how much things have changed since the Cheech and Chong.
Dude, Cheech
Up
and
and
Chong
Smoke.
were like,
Your narc uncle.
Dude,
Yeah.
that is like
Yeah.
the best argument ever that he needs to smoke weed.
Yeah.
Be like, hey,
Yeah,
bro,
totally.
why don't you just like chill out and
Yeah.
smoke
Listen
some?
to this, man.
Cheech and Chong, I'm not super familiar with weed culture, but like I feel like they don't get the admiration and respect that they deserve as early pioneers. I mean, they're like the Magellan of weed culture, right?
I think they do. I think they get
Yeah.
Oh, they do?
plenty. Yeah. They have a whole like line of pipes and bongs. I think they have their own strain of
Oh my
weed, and they
gosh.
have like
Wow.
rolling paper. They have all these like
I
smoking
take it back.
accessories
That's good.
and stuff.
I'm glad they're getting recognized as they
Yeah,
should.
they are for sure.
Tracie, what is your relationship to Sex in the City? We ask this to like anyone we ever have on. Some people like it's their favorite show ever. Some people have only seen a few episodes, but what's your relationship to the show?
Oh, I've seen every episode. I saw both movies in the theater. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I love to make fun of it for different reasons, but also like, while it was airing, because I watched it, while it was airing, and it was like event television while it was airing. Like, I would watch it when it was airing, obviously because in the beginning there wasn't DVR or anything. It's like, but you have to catch it when it's on. So, I definitely understood the importance. I was pretty young. I think I was maybe like a senior in high school when it started. And I understood the importance of, women talking about sex and talking about vibrators. I was really into zine culture. So I was like always getting like feminist zines that would talk about vibrators and things like that. And then I went on to work for this magazine called Bust, which started off as a zine and then became a magazine. It's this like seminal feminist magazine. And we always did vibrator reviews and things like that. And we all love Sex in the City. We love that they talked about that kind of stuff. And sort of like made it just like normal. At the same time as like being a writer who lives in New York City, how fantastical a lot of the stuff is wild. And then like watching this, or seeing it like as an adult and like looking back, I don't know, 20 years later, has it been 20 years? It's been over 20 years, right?
It's been,
Yeah.
it's been
22,
almost
25.
21 or 22.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
never
So
mind.
like watching those things, some of it just seems like so stupid and like so, just not in touch with reality at all. But and there are issues with it, there was issues with like diversity and stuff like that. But ultimately it was great to be able to see women talk about sex and not be shamed for it and be celebrated for it.
I think so much of what you're saying is like so interesting from the side of Sex in the City. They're talking about vibrators, they're talking about sex, but they're like the furthest women ever to read or understand what a zine would be. Like if there's like, there should be an episode where they go to the East Village and she's like, did you know that some people make tiny magazines and they don't even pronounce the whole word? They're called zines. And like, there's not really much of a punk rock aspect covered in Sex in the City, but
No.
there is something that I guess is interesting that it seems like they were covering sort of some of the same topics, but also not in the same way that, you guys were.
You're kind of also like on the forefront of the early like digital move to writing. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like when did Jezebel get established? Was that founded?
Jezebel started in 2007. And
2007.
I was writing
Okay.
for Gawker first, and
Okay.
Gawker owned Jezebel. And so then I, kind of migrated over there, and we were developing the site and stuff and then launched it. So yeah, I mean, the reason why I left Bust was because I really wanted us to get in the digital space.
Yeah.
And it was just so hard there. Like just making a magazine is so hard. And there was like 4 women that did it. Like it was very small staff. So they like couldn't focus on that. It was like really just like trying to get the magazine out when we could. So, and then I feel like once Jezebel happened, those kinds of conversations sort of exploded about women and sex. And especially at that time, like sex writing was very, very popular. I had a sex blog. That's how Gawker found me.
What was your sex blog called, or what was it?
It was called 1D at a Time.
That's an anti-double penetration blog, it sounds like.
Exactly. Although, there was one entry that was called that one time. I took 2Ds at a time. So it was just about being kind of like a dirtbag, like a woman dirtbag, which wasn't something that really anybody liked. A lot of feminists didn't like it because they thought it was like setting people back and setting setting the women's movement back. And then a lot of, I don't know, I feel like especially the Gawker commenters were like real harsh about it. Like, but I always think of like sex writing as sort of like a Rorschach test, and like the way that you react to it says so much more about you than the person who wrote it. So, so having been a sex writer in New York City, my life was very, very different from Carrie Bradshaw's.
Were there any, what were like the main differences? I mean, I imagine that you probably weren't spending as much money as she was on.
Yeah. I did not have a pair of shoes that were even like, I think actually the first time I bought a pair of shoes that were over $400, probably over $100, all my shoes were cheap before that, was when I got the job at Jezebel. I went to celebrate by buying a pair of shoes. And I feel like that I was totally influenced by Sex and the City and Carrie Bradshaw. It's like, oh, this is how you celebrate success. You go and buy a pair of shoes for a fucking blogging job, which I never even wore shoes to do because I was like in my house.
You were like the original like work from home person pre-pandemic. Like this is nothing new to you.
I'm so
working
used
from
to
home.
this. Yeah, it's great.
Was there the element of like the press and like the parties and the scenes? Was like all of that happening as a writer in the mid 2000s?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So like you were going to the fashion shows, you were going to like the restaurants and all that stuff. That part of it was accurate.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, I guess I would go to restaurants. I didn't have really a lot of, if it was free, I would go. That's the thing, is that you go to these things as a writer because it's free. You get free food, free booze, because you can't afford it otherwise, because you are not making much money at all. But that's like, so when I watch Sex and the City now and I see her at like a party or whatever, I'm like, that is awfully well lit for a fashion party. Like it would be way darker, the music would be louder, it would be weirder. It wasn't like it felt like every time she went to a party, it felt like it was like a gallery opening.
Right.
An actual like, party where people are like doing drugs and, having a good time.
Right.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I mean, I guess pandemic has changed that, but do you think like that world of the Carrie Bradshaw world and even the world that you experienced, does that exist in New York anymore? Is that like a bygone world?
I did go to a book party on Thursday, and it was my first time ever going to something since, in over a year, probably in like 14 months or something like that. And it was still outside, like it was outdoor seating, but it was really nice. There was like, New York media people there. It was like somewhat a little bit glamorous. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot what this felt like. This is great. But that's the first thing that I've experienced, since last year.
Was it hard to get back into that? Like, do you think people are going to snap back, or do you think that it's going to go? I'm just worried that our old lives are going to look so much more foreign then.
People are going to be done hanging.
Yeah. Like, was your experience normal?
It felt so good to do it. But I will say that it felt weird because like putting on makeup and stuff and wearing heels for the first time in forever felt weird. And I was late because I wasn't able to like actually properly gauge how long it took me to get ready anymore.
Sure.
So, but I don't think that it's going to go back to the way that it was before. Like, I think that things are going to be like really slowed down just because like it's like way more cost effective. I've saved so much money in this pandemic. You know, not like going out and drinking and taking cabs every night.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's kind of nice to be able to like do other things with my money.
I know sometimes like on a Sunday night when I'm getting ready for the work day and in the pandemic, I've like gone to the grocery store over the weekend and be like, man, that was like really tiring. And then I think back to like 2 years ago, I'm like, how in the hell did I do all that stuff on a weekend? Like how did it actually work? It's just, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into the episode real quick, do you have the classic question? Are you a, Carrie or whatever? Does one come to mind?
Yeah, I'm a combo of Carrie. I'm sorry, not Carrie. I'm a combo of Charlotte and Samantha.
Oh,
That's what I always say.
Really?
Yeah, so why do you say that?
Because I'm like traditional in a lot of ways. And I don't know if it's like my Catholic upbringing. I'm unable to just completely get rid of that. And I do like niceness, and I have a lot of rules for myself and for the way that things are supposed to go. I also, especially, I don't know, when I was younger, I was real wild sexually. And then now that I'm older, like, it's like, I have like an angle to work. So it's like a cougar angle, and that's been beneficial for me. So I feel like Samantha in that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Wait, what are you guys?
I always say that. I always say Charlotte and Samantha because I grew up in kind of like a Christian home, and like I have like a rule following thing, and I feel like at heart like I'm kind of innocent in a way, but then also, as I've grown up, I kind of let loose on the wild side, and then I feel like I've dealt with a lot of the tension between those two a bunch. So and I'm just excited the next few years to become a cougar.
I think I'm probably 90% Miranda. I don't think I'm as pessimistic as Miranda is, but I think I work the same way that she does in terms of thinking and thought process and friendship and things like that. But I think I have like maybe a little Carrie in me. I don't know. Probably Miranda Carrie.
But you like sports as a Miranda?
Not really, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the Carrie in you.
Yeah, not really a lover of
Magic
sports.
the Gathering is a sport.
If Magic the Gathering,
exactly,
and role-playing games were a sport, exactly.
I would say mostly Carrie and maybe a little Charlotte. I don't even remember what I said on past podcasts, but I do know that I'm like mostly Carrie. Partially, I mean, we've talked about this. Like, I've been so much like emotion led in so many things in my life, and like John has been my Miranda, where I'm like, I got to talk to you about this thing, but I've like slowly started to understand a little more of that, and like I guess like, I don't know if blissed out is the word, but just have been like, okay, just like become aware of things. But definitely Carrie, and also like most of my jobs in New York have been in media, and so I feel like there's a little bit, Carrie's like a people person. She's always around other people and stuff like that. And then I think the Charlotte thing, I also have a pretty traditional religious upbringing, and my family was always in some ways like in a good way, like wanted kind of like postcard perfect family stuff. And so I feel like that's very Charlotte, where it's like you got to have like a good looking duvet cover. And so my family's like, there were things like that were important to my family, even though they understood the real things that were important as well.
Plus, you're going to end up marrying a bald Jewish lawyer.
That's true. That's true. I'm gonna marry a bald Jewish lawyer after the real estate guy breaks my heart 1,000,000 times. You know, and it's really my fault the entire time. I should have walked away at the beginning.
Well, let's check out. This is the first episode of season 2.
That's
Take Me to the Ball Game. Is that what it's called? Take Me to the Ball Game?
Take me out to the ball game.
Take me out to the ball game.
You're not a sports guy because you would know that's the most iconic baseball song ever. What's this song's called?
To the ball game.
Take me to the ball
also
game.
not a singer.
Take me to crowd. Find me Cracker
We
Jack.
score touchdowns and goals and baskets.
Katie's gonna walk through the synopsis if you're not watching alongside of us, and we will see you on the other side of the break to discuss Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Boom.
All right.
Episode 13. Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Carrie meets the new Yankee at a baseball game, all the while preparing for her first post-breakup encounter with Big. Miranda gets fed up with the girls always talking about men, and Samantha gets frustrated with her boyfriend's deficiencies. Charlotte dates a guy who has a tendency to adjust his package a lot. And now, back to the boys.
Support for this podcast comes from PayPal. Small business owners, turn your smartphone into a cash register. PayPal QR codes are the safe and easy way to get paid in store, and they deliver the same security and trust PayPal is known for online, in person. Even if you're a cash-only business, with PayPal QR codes, you can accept credit or debit with everyday low fees. There's no additional hardware or software needed. Generate your unique QR code from the PayPal app and display it on your device, or print it to display in store. Customers scan your code with their PayPal app. You only need your smartphone. Learn more at paypal.com/us/getqrcode.
And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody.
We're back on the same page. Here we go.
On the same ball.
Take me to ball game. That was a good episode.
Bring me to ball game.
Bring me to stadium.
Man, I just have to stay at the start of this episode. Carrie fucks up a lot in Sex and the City as a whole, but leaving New Yankee was probably the dumbest thing that she does in the entire series. That guy is perfect.
I have
looking.
Cool. Good looking. Like, I have a new respect. This is the second time we've ever watched this series. We just watched it for the first time, as our listener would know, but I don't know if you know that, Tracy, but like watching it again, New Yankee is so perfectly cast.
Oh my gosh.
As like a sports guy, but also just like a good guy who's playing in a totally different world. Like, he's just like, Harry leaves him and he's like, all right. Like,
she cries in his mouth.
Yeah, it's not his fault at all.
Now he has a story, a New York story.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Being ditched by a sex writer.
Yeah.
Did you get any hooked up with any sports people, any athletes in your career?
No, I did it for free. I didn't get paid. No, I don't know. I'm not like a sports person.
Okay.
It was like musicians, DJs, actors, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
When we did last year, we did March Madness, but for Sex and the City guys, and New Yankee was a strong, like, girls out there have strong feelings towards New Yankee. Like, this is the first time I remembered him because I remembered this episode, but a lot of people out there wish he would have had a longer arc, and they really, but who
did the best out of the
in March Madness?
Well, we did it luck based. We actually did it chance based, but I think Harry,
some of the non-main boyfriends, like, people love Harry, people love Smith, people love
Smith's
Dr.
great.
Robert Leeds, Miranda's boyfriend in season 5.
Yeah, a lot of people
the
like
black guy.
Yeah.
Who else do they like? Do they really love?
The comptroller.
Oh,
John Slattery.
Bill Kelly.
John Slattery. Yeah, John Slattery's character. People loved him. People love Farmer Luke. Farmer Luke, a very minor character, but the farmer that Samantha hooks up with. People love Farmer Luke. Also,
I think
people,
Dr.
there's-
Robert Leeds was definitely the most like fan outcry of hotness.
Internally, we liked Big Bone Tom a lot. Shmuel got a lot of love.
Yeah, Shmuel.
We're big
was
Shmuel
great.
heads. We like Turtle. We think Turtle was not respected completely.
We're huge fans of Len Schneiderman, the guy with the dangly earring that Samantha sleeps with when she gets her period back. We love Len Schneiderman. He's like got a gray ponytail and like a dangly earring.
Coming up in a couple episodes, we got Mr. Pussy, who I was a big fan of.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so many. There's so many classic gentlemen in this show.
Yeah, really. Oh, so here's a question, because you were talking about, your Samantha years. Sex and the City does such an amazing job of the weird one-off guys, and that's honestly our favorite part. Is how accurate is that to just weird dudes that are out there?
Yeah,
As a
that's
woman
pretty
who's dated around.
accurate.
Pretty accurate.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely guys that I've slept with or dated that just have nicknames that I don't even remember their names, that we would just call them Leather Jacket or something like that. It would just be there's a ton of that.
A lot of shitty apartments.
Yeah, exactly. One guy was Foam Mattress. We just called him Foam
Foam
Mattress.
mattress. Was it just literally like a foam topper? Like that was the
It was
mattress?
just a foam mattress. It was, that was it. No
If you-
anything else. Not even an air mattress. It was just a foam mattress.
I want to do an exercise. What would I'm asking Kevin and Cory and Tracie, what would your one night stand name be? What are other people referring to you as?
Mine
What do
would
you
be
think?
West Elm Bed Frame.
That just seems like something you want people to think of you as.
Yeah, exactly.
Because here's the thing. I found one that was refurbished and I paid a lot of money for it, even though it was refurbished.
It's either that or a Restoration Hardware rug. Either one. Take your choice.
Here's the two things that I bought that were expensive. Pick a name.
that were a combination from a Christmas and birthday gift. I asked my parents if I could combine the two.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know what mine would be. Mine might be something like, mine would be, because I used to have, you'd have to walk through the hallway to get to my bedroom. So there were a few times that girls came back to my apartment and were like, oh, this apartment's kind of nice. And then we would have to walk from my apartment through the hallway back to my bedroom, and they were like, and I was like, this is the part where it gets weird, and they'd be like, where the fuck are we going? So it would I don't know what the nickname would be, but it would be something about that.
Railroad.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, railroad cab.
Mine.
I feel like I'm just the mom now. Like that mom. And before, I don't even want to know what I would have been called. It wouldn't have been something nice, probably. It would have been something not nice.
I'm sure people probably threw out the Carrie the Carrie Bradshaw one with you being a writer, sex writer.
No, I doubt it.
No,
I would
No,
be
I think it
terrified
was-
if I found out midway through flirting with someone that they were a writer at Gawker and Jezebel, I would
Oh my
freak
gosh.
out. I would be so nervous.
Oh, I kept that a secret for sure.
Okay,
I
yeah.
never would tell people that. Yeah.
You got to tell a lie. I'm just an FBI agent, or I work for the guy, something to make him actually feel good.
What all right, let's get into the storylines here. Who do we got?
We've got. Oh, go ahead.
Well, Miranda was basically the why do we always have to talk about guys? Which was cool.
And it came up that she had a boyfriend for 2 years, I believe, named Jeff, that she was notorious for getting over quickly and being able to not talk about him, not bring him up, and was just completely over him.
But she says why do we have to talk about our boyfriends all the time, which I feel her on that. But her alternate convo options are do you want to know about my new Palm Pilot?
Yeah.
Which is so much more boring.
Or she's spewing off really nerdy baseball stats about a minor league player that's just got brought up to the majors for the first time. It's no, you're
Those
proud,
girls
Miranda.
clearly don't care. Exactly. Read the room.
Oh man.
I'm so glad you brought up the Palm Pilot because I was thinking that when she brought it up, and I was like, this is the dumbest conversation ever. Like, I don't know.
I would
Also,
rather
love it-
talk about someone's balls. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I always love playing was it product placement or not, because in HBO like sometimes it's obvious. I don't think that one was, but I was like through the episode I was like, I wonder if that was Palm Pilot like really dropping some big money to be like, just get us on there. Okay, we're coming back.
The years that it was like a big deal, right? That's like when
Yeah,
they
it
were
was-
trying to like really hap him.
Late 90s, I guess.
What?
You're up, John.
Oh, sorry. I thought Cory said, hold on a second. I was like, okay, are we stopping for some reason?
No.
Anyway,
Oh,
this
no,
will just be an
no,
awkward thing that you
no.
guys
I
can
just
make fun of us about.
I got super nostalgic about Palm Pilots and just wanted to take a moment of silence for them. That was I was like, guys, let's just pour one out for all the Palm Pilots
Oh, you
out
said
there.
pour one out. I love that. Yeah, Kevin's like, you're up, John. Okay, so.
Hey, John, I know you're not that into sports, but batter's up, bro. Come on, man. You're on deck. Let's go.
Okay, my question was, what the hell did a Palm Pilot do? Like, now that we have
man.
iPhones, I can look back and know like the iterations of how that technology developed. Was it just like
well, it had a
was a
pen,
calendar.
which was cool.
Had
And
a stylus.
It was basically, I mean, imagine like a shitty iPad, basically. Like it
Yeah.
does, you could read on it. So it was kind of like a shitty Kindle. It was a
you
shitty
could
calendar.
like you could read a book?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like
I
pre-apps.
think-
So I don't think it was like the easiest way like to find them and stuff. But yeah, like you could do email on it.
Yeah. Calendar.
I'm just thinking of a BlackBerry. I guess
contacts.
I'm trying to think of the difference between a Palm
Well,
Pilot and a BlackBerry.
It wasn't connected to like a phone until they got to this
Yeah.
one, and I forgot what it was. Do you remember there was this one that was like square with a big knobby antenna, and it was like made by T-Mobile or something? It was like the first phone version. People had it like right when I moved to New York, but the Palm Pilots like weren't connected to a phone, so it was like all the things you could do on a BlackBerry, but you couldn't dial out. So it's like, think of all the fun organizational stuff crammed into a BlackBerry, plus like Minesweeper. That was a Palm Pilot.
That's like anytime
essentially
anytime I put my computer, I take it off the internet to like get some like writing done. I'm always like, what's a computer for? It's like, what does this thing do? So that's a Palm Pilot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. And it's funny how we've talked 5 times as long about it than Miranda's friends
Right.
let her talk about it.
Exactly.
We were like, let's get into it.
I would love to see a cut scene where they just let Miranda just go. She talked about her like legal briefs. Her fucking she has the contact
she's like,
for her
what does
favorite
it
notary.
do? What doesn't
Yeah.
it do? Hold on a second. Okay, so
I think she
There's
probably
a-
could have talked Samantha into buying one.
Why didn't Samantha have one? She was in PR. She should have been like on top
Exactly.
of it.
I bet Samantha had one. She just didn't want to talk about it. She was
Yeah.
Because
just
it's
like
boring. She knows.
exactly. Yeah, she
Rather
knows.
talk about Small Dick
Samantha's like,
James.
Yeah, exactly. She's like fully organized. There's a Charlotte thing that we asked on our Instagram, and it's about Charlotte's breakup rule. And she's like, which I've heard elsewhere, it's like it takes half the total time you went out with someone to get over them. And we asked, like 44% of the people on our Instagram agreed with that. 56 disagreed, like pretty much half and half. What do y'all think of that? Do you think that's true? The half rule to get over? Like if you went out with someone for 3 years, it takes a year and a half to get over. If you went out for a year, it's 6 months. What do you think?
As someone who identifies with Charlotte, can you define like what getting over someone means?
Ooh, I think in Charlotte terms,
not
getting over
openly
means-
crying.
yeah,
On
not
the
openly
stream.
crying. You've properly grieved it. You feel a peace that you're like, I'm ready to move on now. And that, like, I think
Not
Charlotte
allowed to drink
needs,
in the day anymore.
right. Charlotte
Exactly.
needs everything internally and externally very tidy. So it's like you feel like you've tidied that up inside and you're ready to move on.
I feel
I
like
think
it
it's
only really applies though if someone breaks up with you, if it's like unexpected.
Yeah.
If you break up with someone, then I don't think it's going to be nearly as long. Also, if it also depends on like how deteriorated the relationship had become by the end of it. Like, cause sometimes people just like hold on and, you know, they're just like hanging on for like nothing. And then like when you're free, you're like, oh my God, I'm free of that. Like I should have just like broke up with them so long ago. So I think it really like depends, but I like the figure as a sort of base number. You know?
Yeah, I agree. Cause it's like totally just like folk advice. Like I don't think this comes from like a psychological study, but it's almost better that way because it gives you a very tangible moment, you know, that if it is 6 months that you're like, okay, like at the end of month 1, you could be like, all right, I feel a little better. Like the wound's healing up. I think I need to like hang out with the guys, you know, and then I bet it psychologically has got to be good for you. Unless it was like a 5-year relationship and you're like, oh, fuck, I got a hard 2.5 years.
Yeah. I also think it has to do with the maturity of the relationship because I can't help but think about someone who has a high school sweetheart. They dated freshman all the way through senior year. When they go to college, they're like week 2 and they're completely over each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's some breakups that are there are none that are completely just handshake. Even ones that are like, you agree to do it, they're still sad. So I think like you'd have to look at this on a scale of like really difficult, toxic, close relationship to, you know, there's one relationship that I had that it wasn't that long to heal from and we're like friends now, and that was like relatively long. It was like 1.5 years. So, and then I've had other ones that are like a little rougher. So, but I like it as good. I think it's a good wisdom to throw out to some friends.
Yeah.
I also think it's good so that like it gives your friends a sort of timeline of like how long they can put up with your bullshit.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It's like, okay, we will be putting up with this for 9 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you have to get your shit together.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%.
Totally. Yeah.
I want to. So Charlotte dates a guy who adjusts himself frequently. He's grabbing his crotch and playing with his balls, like in public, in private. And her solution to that was to go to Barney's and buy him some supportive underwear. He reacted like an absolute infant, in my
really
opinion.
Weird, right?
Do you think that was the right play for her, or do you think she should have just?
I would
like
never
said
buy a
something.
man a gift, especially from Barney's. Well, now I can't because Barney's is gone. But
Yeah.
like, especially from, I mean, that was expensive underwear and they hadn't even had sex yet. It's like, he should buy you a gift.
Yes.
He should buy you underwear. But like, I would have just asked him, like, why are you always touching yourself? That's so embarrassing. It's like, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be so Charlotte to be so forward about something like that. But I mean, I have friends that do that, like gay friends, male friends that are always feel real comfortable just scratching their balls or readjusting themselves like often in front of me. I would never like pick at my vagina in front of anybody. I truly would not. I would go to the bathroom, you know?
Yeah. I think, I feel like I have nice, I don't know if I do it or not. I feel like I maybe do without noticing. Do I do that? I don't know that as I was watching, I was like, that seems like something. Cause I've been accused of not doing a major nose pick, but doing like occasional like nose wiping. And I don't notice I do it. It's like a nervous tick. And I was like, I hope I don't do that with my balls. As I was watching the show, I was like, I hope I don't do that. But if I did, I would get my own underwear and I would get my own support. Okay.
There's also a way of like unjamming them with like just doing like an extra long horizontal step.
Yeah.
Or like, you know,
you just do the leg shift. Yeah.
You can do like a leg shift. And then if it's more problematic than that, you can just like Tracie said, you can go into the bathroom and do a full on adjustment.
Yeah.
I think his was like very egregious, and his
was it just from being a baseball player? Was it just
that
from
wasn't
like
the baseball player? This was the
that guy was the musician.
That guy was he was a jazz A&R rep at a record label.
Okay.
I think since he's a jazz rep, I think that was happening because he was just too cool. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was just way too freaking cool.
It is. Do you think the Yankee was into the music he suggested? Do you think he was going to go home and
Davis?
just be like,
how did he not know who Miles Davis was?
Yeah.
I mean, even if you just have ever like seen PBS or something. Like
Right.
Yeah.
there's you just hear about Miles Davis even if you've never heard his music.
Totally. That's just a name that exists. No,
Yeah.
I think the new Yankee probably listened to like Andrew WK or something like that. I don't party all the time.
What if
Was
everything
that
the new
even,
Yankee?
I don't even think that was out yet though, right?
Yeah, maybe
It
not.
probably wasn't. What if the new Yankee had only listened to things played over the speakers at baseball games? It was all just
Jams?
Jock Jams. It was all
I
Jock
love
Jams.
Jock Jams.
It's
Jock
great.
Jams. I was
gosh.
actually listening to Jock Jams yesterday because they played a song. Yeah, they played a song in Whole Foods that was from one of the Jock Jams, and I was like, "Oh, I love that song." And then I got in my car and I put on. They have like a whole mix on Spotify that's like Jock Jams 1 through 4.
Oh,
So
what
I put
what
that
song
on.
was
It was great.
it? Do you remember which one it was?
No, it wasn't that one. It was like
Beantown, baby, Beantown.
I want to say it was like it wasn't Everybody, but it was like shit.
Was it
wasn't
CNC Music Factory? Okay.
No, it was maybe like fuck. Is it Black Box? Is that? It
What
was
is
like
Black Box? Is it? Wait, is it
like
Sandstorm?
yeah. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh, yeah.
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 Oh my.
Yeah.
That sounds so good. Oh, strike
That's
it
a
up.
great song.
Strike it up.
Oh yes.
Oh, that is a great song.
That is like that
Yeah.
90s house music feel. That's great. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, the irony is that so many Jock Jams are actually like gay anthems.
Oh,
And there's
really?
several Village People songs on there. Yes.
I just imagine people shopping in Whole Foods to this right now.
It was me.
Dude, I want to take a
Yeah,
special
you.
shout
Love that
out
song.
and do a shout out to the Chain Skimmers. There's a community water ski show in northern Wisconsin that we see every summer, and that's their finale song that they all dance to. So shout out to the Chain Skimmers in Land O'Lakes,
Skimmers.
Wisconsin.
What's
Amazing.
also
Speaking of music, though, with the new Yankee, I do think that this episode was inspired by or based on Mariah Carey and Derek Jeter. Mariah Carey's rebound from Tommy Mottola was with Derek Jeter, and that was in 1998. And this episode came out in 1999, and it was like all over Page Six. You know, Mariah Carey's with the new Yankee, and you know they had this quick relationship, fast relationship, and so I would think that maybe the new Yankee listens to Mariah Carey.
wow.
That's some good inside info right there.
That really is. Do you see that kind of thing in pop culture from knowing years of like being an internet writer and just knowing what's going on in gossip all the time? Do you see that paralleled in TV all the time?
Yes, I'm so into celebrity gossip and like pop culture, but also I am a lamb. So I love Mariah Carey. That's what she calls her fans, her lambs, her lamely. So
okay.
I also have just listened to The Meaning of Mariah Carey by Mariah Carey, which is her autobiography. It came out in the fall, and she talks a lot about the whole Derek Jeter thing.
How long was she with Derek Jeter?
Like a year, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe a little less than a
Okay.
year.
When was
I
Madonna
remember
with Derek
watching-
Jeter?
What's he doing?
Was she?
No, when was Madonna with Derek? Was Madonna ever with Derek Jeter?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm gonna look
man.
up Derek Jeter's
I mean, he
relationship.
seems like he was
there.
all over the place.
Yeah,
What does he do now?
He
Is he announced? Is he like a?
I mean, he went down as like the greatest shortstop of all time. So I feel like he doesn't need to.
He played for 20
He's not out
years.
there like A-Rod. A-Rod's like out and about.
He's making
Yeah.
an embarrassment of himself.
Really?
Oh my God. Yeah. He like had this affair with some girl who's on a Bravo show. And that's why he and J-Lo broke up like 2 weeks ago. And then
Now,
No way.
apparently got back together.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Alex,
I,
who's the Bravo girl?
Some girl was on a show called Southern Charm. Her
No
name's
way.
Madison.
Really?
Yeah.
A-Rod.
I
Madison
was
LaCroix.
Ooh,
Yes.
her owner of the Seltzer fortune, LaCroix.
Really?
No, that's not true. I just made that up. I was totally wrong about the Madonna thing. I thought for some reason, well, it's not listed on foxsports.com on this article I'm looking at, but
It's
Jeter
not
did
in top
date-
10 girlfriends that I'm
There you
looking at
go.
right now.
But he did date a Miss Universe. He dated Jessica Alba and ScarJo
Tyra.
and Tyra.
Wow.
Tyra Banks. Wow. And Jessica Biel too, and Gabrielle
Wow.
Union.
Yeah.
Wow.
Adriana
and Minka Kelly.
Lima.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
He was out there doing it.
He really
Now-
was.
He was
I
getting
feel like-
criticized by Steinbrenner for staying out partying until 3 a.m.
Who
Which
wouldn't?
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to show up and you got to be able to perform. I mean, this is new Yankees going to the second bar on Bleecker Street. You know, he's going to get criticized by Stein next day.
Yeah, you know he is. But he's new Yankee, man. He's got friends at a second bar. You know he's going to show up and play. He was going to get there. Black Box is going to be playing. He was going to buy shots for the whole bar. It was going to be amazing.
I do want to point out about how, and I would love to hear your input. I feel like Big handled that interaction like an absolute pro, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
Big was like such a gentleman, shook his hand, wished him luck, wasn't creepy,
Complimented
just like
her.
complimented her, said you look
Yeah,
great, saw
she
your
was
picture,
a mess.
and then just walked away. I was like, damn, Big, like that was well played.
She was
Yeah.
embarrassing. She stared
yeah.
at him the whole time and like didn't acknowledge the guy that she was with. Like that's so awkward
Yeah.
to do that. Like you just she played it all wrong. But I guess in the end she ended up getting him. So whatever.
Yeah.
You know, when you have the breakups and then you are just like constantly like you do entire routes to like not run into that person. You're just like,
Yeah.
so I'm done with the Carroll stop for 2 years. Never going to
Yeah.
be getting off there. I'll just
Yeah.
walk the extra 20 blocks. But it seems like, I don't know. I felt like it's funny. This is season 1 or episode 1 of season 2, because they kind of just jump right back into the Carrie Big situation. I wonder if you're sitting on your couch to check in on the new season and then you're like, oh, I wonder if Big is done. And they're clearly making a mark like, no, this character is going to be here for a while.
Forever.
Yeah.
There was one
Yeah.
time I was in the city and this was like it was well after Sex in the City had ended. And there was a girl on her cell phone, like in line for something in front of me. And she was like, he's like my Big.
Oh my
talking to her
gosh.
friend about some guy. And I was like, oh, no.
Oh.
I
What
mean,
are
it
your-
still holds up. People
Yeah,
like,
it does.
yeah, it's still, I mean, since we started doing it, I didn't even know like what that, I hadn't seen the show and I knew what that meant before. I was like, okay, I know Chris Noth, the actor, but I need to hear what like this is all about. Now that I've seen it, I'm like, all right, I think I'll
Yeah.
probably use this vocabulary occasionally more than I used to.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Big after seeing the show and seeing it multiple times? What's your gut reaction on him?
You know, it's hard to say. It's hard for me to divorce him from Chris Noth, who I saw in public before and thought he was so sexy. And I never thought that when I watched the show. But in public, like in person, he had this like, also he was wasted and his shirt was all messed up. And there was like something hot about that. And I just liked it. So I like get it. I got it after that. I just was never, and maybe I'm stupid and whatever, but like I never like dated Suits. So I don't like know what that whole world is. I mean, they're like Upper East Side, you know, suit wearing fancy shoe people. And I live in Brooklyn. So it's a little bit different. I mean, they're the women. I mean, they would be on Real Housewives now. Like that's that set. They are that age and they would be, I mean, Candace Bushnell makes appearances on Real Housewives of New York City all the time as like a friend of one of the women. So, you know, they're a certain type that I never really was. They're not really like that cool. Like they don't do like downtown shit, which at that point in time, like 1999 in the city was like very, very cool. It wasn't cool to be on the Upper East Side at all anymore. So it's weird that kept on going for the remainder of the show.
Who would your your Sex in the City siren be that would just hold your heart? Who's your guy?
Oh, Smith Jared.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
Sexy
true.
and nice.
He's
Yeah.
the best. I love Smith.
Yeah.
What okay, the Samantha storyline was basically small penis guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was her. It was her coaching James through all the stuff. There's the big montage of him like being a baseball coach to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that he has a small penis.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah,
Like
Has he
at-
never watched porn?
Yeah, and it's like the guys that I know that have small penises talk about it a lot and know they have them because well, I guess not everyone, but I specifically have 3 friends that talk about it all the time and are funny about it. So I wonder if this guy doesn't know. He doesn't seem insecure about it though either. He just seems like
how can he not? He hasn't like looked at other guys. It's like in a locker room or something, or even looking at porn and
Right.
not felt. I mean, like every single woman has some sort of insecurity about her body. So it's like kind of annoying that he doesn't.
100%.
Yeah.
That's so.
he has.
That's so
he's
true.
very confident. He's very confident, or at least romantically confident. Like he's always like showing up to be like, "That's my girl." Like he seems a little like not self-aware or just doesn't have anything to be insecure about.
It seems
in his
very
mind.
un-Samantha like though to not tell him. Like she's
Yeah.
kind of handling
Yeah.
the small penis situation in a similar way that Charlotte handled like the underwear, not wanting to just like come out and say it. Where like I feel like it would have been more her personality and would have suited her better if she was just like, "Honey, your bat's a little small. That's why we're going to use a vibrator. That's why we're going to do this." And like, that's going to make this relationship work. But she kind of was like too embarrassed to bring that up.
I have to say that any guy that would say something like, you know, when you start like use your vibrator, and any guy that would say something like, "I think it would be more fun if it was just us." Like that is like someone you don't keep. That's not a keeper. That is someone you get rid of. Like that is a
100%.
hot potato. Throw him. It like that's so awful. And it's like, so he did. I guess he did have like a delusional inflated sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
But like it was weird that Samantha like turned the vibrator off. That seemed very not her.
Exactly.
But you know, this is second season. Like a lot of times in shows, they don't like really solidify like who a character is until like the 3rd season. And then they like really kind of like nail it down. I mean, in this season, they're still doing the talk to the camera interviews with people, which they drop at some point.
Yeah.
It's still kind of like early on in the development of the show.
Yeah, they're still figuring some of that stuff out. I actually really liked the camera to the camera stuff. I actually liked in this episode. There's sometimes where it comes off a little much, but I thought we were over it. And then when it was here in this episode, I was like, I like this. I especially like the lady in the Yankees stadium. I was like, oh, that's fun. Like seeing these like weird New York characters that you don't end up getting like later. Once they drop that,
I guess it's the same as the first season. They just don't have the names anymore. The first season they had like Rich Stein, banker. They would have said like, you know, so and so,
Because
beer
that's what Candace
salesman.
Bushnell's column was like. She would. Did you guys read Sex and the City, the book, at all?
Yeah, we read.
I read portions of it, not the whole thing.
Yeah, we ended up talking to her, and we read some of it before, and but yeah, it was all taken. Was it taken exactly from her columns?
No, this is the one instance where I think the show is better than the book. The book, I think the book was just a collection of the columns, and it didn't have like the heart that the show has. And you didn't care about the characters the way that you care about the characters on the show. The people all just seemed like money hungry and, gold digging, which, you know, I didn't really like. One of the episodes, which was also in the book, but one of the episodes, I forget what season it's in, but it's like Susan Sharon. Is that her name?
Oh, yeah.
The lady with the cashmere who buys Carrie the cashmere scarf and like stays at her house. That's based on one of the Real Housewives of New York, Dorinda Medley. Dorinda had a cashmere company, that like an export company, and she was going through like a horrible divorce with like a really asshole husband at the time.
Okay. Yeah, because that's the one
was
whose
very
husband like
generous.
screams at her because he's working on London time and like yells at her a whole
Yes.
bunch.
Yeah, she was
okay.
living in London with him, and then she left and came back to New York.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
That's really fascinating. Do you and when you were writing your column, would you reference certain episodes of Sex and the City like mentally when you were preparing stuff or doing research?
I feel like I would make fun of it sometimes.
Okay.
Like I would be like, I couldn't help but wonder. Did you
Yeah,
notice that there was two I couldn't help but wonders in this episode, and they were almost back to back
Huh.
Wait,
They were
I didn't
like-
notice that.
within like 3 minutes of each other. Two I
Really?
couldn't help but wonders. Yeah.
wait, one was
Oh.
about, well, I think they were both were about breakups. Was one about seeing someone in the street? Like, I know that she talks at the beginning about like chances of seeing your ex are like possible. Chances of seeing your ex when you look horrible or high. But that
Yeah.
wasn't one of they couldn't help but wonders. Let me see.
This one has a really interesting because she's kind of narrating her column all the way through, where she's like
Yeah.
coming up with her rules
It's so
of
punny.
dating.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
all
very, very
the baseball
Oh.
puns, which I actually like. I remember watching this episode the first time it came out and thought that it was hilarious because of all the puns.
Yeah.
Like I was like, when she was like, and the problem was foul balls. Like,
Right,
talking
right.
about that guy's balls.
It got me then.
There's a few more Instagram questions that I would love to talk through.
Well, I think we should cover those breakup rules. I think those are great.
exactly. Yeah.
Because
Fire away.
well, we have in a world where leaving each other seems to be getting more and more frequent. What are the breakup rules? And then people responded with their breakup rules. First one, become fully immersed in more important objectives. Which that one right there.
That sounds like that's like from a war general who broke up. He's like,
I know.
once my wife
Sounds
and
like-
I divorced, I
Sun
became
Tzu.
fully immersed in more important objectives.
Sounds like someone just found their new Palm Pilot and is fully immersed in it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really professional way to put get hotter.
Yeah.
The next one is text is okay if it's something casual, which I totally disagree with. If you just continue texting with them, is that what they're saying?
No,
Yeah, I
breakup
think that-
rules. Like
Yeah.
it's okay. I think they're saying it's okay to break up with someone via text if it's just a casual relationship.
Got you. Okay,
Yeah.
got you.
Okay.
Text is okay. Yeah. Okay.
What do you think of that, Tracy? Do you think it's like at what point do you owe someone more than a text? Is there a number?
I don't know. Like I am terrible at this. I broke up with someone via text, but we hadn't even had sex. And we kept going on dates because I was like, you know what? I'm going to break up with him to his face. And then after like the 5th date, I was like, this is crazy. Like I have got to just like text him and say like, no. So I did that. And then I felt bad. And then here's the thing is that he continued to text me without me replying for 3 years. I
What?
still have the text messages. Yeah. He would text me and then I had to block him on Gmail because he kept like DMing me at work. But yeah, he continued to text me and it's like, what is this like game? Like, what is he just like, is he doing this to everyone and just hoping
That's
something works out
insane.
or like what the,
Would he
we
just
never
say
even had
hi?
sex.
Or like what would he say?
He was like, hey, I got a new couch and it was making me think of you. I'm like, why?
Jeez.
Why? I don't know
He was
why.
in love with you, Tracy.
I don't know. And
Man.
but everyone I've like had sex with, like we've had like a conversation
Mm-hmm.
pretty much
mhm.
in person probably. Or maybe not. Or maybe I don't know, maybe we just stopped texting each other.
Yeah, the fade out can happen at times. Bit like the mutual fade out.
Yeah.
Someone said never reach back out for anything ever in all caps. Lots of no contact. I think that's a pretty solid rule. Just like cut the limb off, throw it in the fire.
It's like stopping smoking. The cold turkey is the only. It's the only way that most people have agreed it works.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any objections to that?
I feel like you don't want to burn bridges though. For me anyway, like, because I never know when I'll need a source. I'll need someone to like tell me
That's
something
true.
I need to know. So I don't ever want to like burn a bridge. I'd like to be able to like reach back out to that person if I need something, information or something from them.
At any point, you could just fire up a text back to 3 years guy and be like, "Hey,
I could. I could.
Wait, did you get a new couch?
Yeah, I'm doing
a story for West Elm."
Oh, my dogs are barking. If I could come sit down.
I was just on a podcast with a guy that has a West Elm headboard, and it got me thinking about your couch.
I think the no contact rule is based on like not reaching out, like leave on good terms and then don't interrupt it. Like, a few times, like, the 3 weeks in you get drunk and then you like text them and you're like, what? Like, that's the thing you gotta not do. Which brings us, there's a bunch of other ones. Block on social media is one.
Block on social media is great. I think
This
that's
is
a
an
very
interesting
good
one. Someone said, make a shit list of everything you disliked about them.
Yeah. Charlotte said that. She said, keep thinking of all the things you hate about them.
Yeah.
I don't think blocking on social media though. I don't like that.
Why?
I want everyone that I've been with to see what they're missing.
I guess what I don't, I no, actually, I take that back. I don't mean block. I mean unfollow. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
I unfollow. And then they can do whatever they want to do.
That makes sense.
I don't block, but unfollow. Yeah.
Yeah. Shit. Tracy's having fun.
Exactly.
That's why I keep texting about my couch.
I want to come up on that For You page.
Yeah. For you. Discover. I've already discovered her. I'm trying to forget her.
Yeah. I feel like those are all, there's a few other ones. Stop texting even when you're drunk. That's a definite one.
Yeah.
I think also if you're going to break up and then reconnect once, you can have one breakup sex post. You're allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do it, but if it happens, it has to be once. It has to be awesome. And then it has to be, it's got to be like passionate and like both of you can be kind of upset, but it's like intense. You can do that one time, but it can't be repeated over a 3-week period of just doing it every week.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, this was incredible. We can't thank you enough for joining us on the podcast tonight. We had so much fun talking with you and learning about what it was like to be Carrie Bradshaw back in the day in New York City. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Tracy, would you give, if you could give, we used to give Cosmo ratings to episodes. What would you give this in relation to the entire series? What Cosmo rating would you give this?
Ooh.
Yeah.
How
1 to
many
5
Cosmos?
cosmos.
How many? One to five Cosmos.
Oh, this is a 4 Cosmo episode, I feel like.
Nice.
There was balls, there was little dicks. Oh, I will say the one thing, I actually wrote this note. The thing that bothers me about the show in general, and especially about this episode, especially because they talk about dicks and balls so much, and you see Samantha looking into the locker room, they never show guys' dicks on this show.
They need to show it. They need
I
to
was
show it.
wondering if they were
that.
going to show it. I was wondering if they were just going to get a full-on shot when she looked at the locker room. That was like perfect
I
time.
can't
It's
agree
also
with you
HBO.
more. They need the for the
We
amount they
see
talk
their
about it.
boobs
They
all
need
the time.
Yeah, they
Yeah, I
need to
know.
show some cock and balls for sure.
One of the funniest things is Danny McBride and like the Righteous Gemstones and like Eastbound and Down, those shows, when they got their HBO show, HBO is like notorious about being like, you got to put nudity in your show. And that's like Sex and the City has ton of nudity. And so they were like, we just kind of didn't care, want to subvert it. So one of the shows, they just put in a ton of male nudity, and they were like, they brought it back to HBO, and they were like, we got nudity, and HBO was like, damn it, we want to see boobs. I'm like, sorry.
Especially, it would have helped
donks.
with this specific episode for her to get into a penis-sized conversation and like how small is too small and how to use it. Like it would have really added to this arc for Samantha.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
Where can people find you online? What are your social handles?
I'm Tracie Morrissey on everything. That's TRACIE. And you can find me on my podcast, Pot Psychology. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.
Great.
That is
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you so much for doing this. This was so fun.
Yeah.
I know. I had a really good time, you guys.
This is awesome.
Cool.
All right. Go follow Tracie. Go listen to Pot Psychology. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Later, taters.
Bye.
Bye.
The Bradshaw Boys stars Cory Cavin, Kevin James Doyle, and Jon Sieber. The show is produced by me, Jeremy Balon, and narrated by Katie Sieber. This podcast is part of the Seltzer Kings Network. Check out all their great podcasts at seltzerkings.com. You can find the boys on their socials at The Bradshaw Boys or on their website at thebradshawboys.com. And as always, if you see them in the street, tip your glass. Thanks for listening.